Welcome back to another episode of the House Husband Diaries. As always, I am your host, Carter C., and today we are talking about three things I did not know starting out in the hiking community, which was just a couple of months ago, that really intimidated me. And I think too often, uh, people put out these videos, this is what I know. And everybody's nice, and most everybody, and saying, well, this works for me and whatever. But I don't know. I was very intimidated about getting into the hiking backpacking community, just because I can't really grow a beard, and I don't eat a whole lot of granola, and I just wasn't really sure, where I would stand and how it would work. And so I think talking about things that intimidate me may help some of you, or at least I hope they do. And I think that just will lead into number one, fear of the unknown. Uh, you know, when I thought about getting into hiking, backpacking, I mean, it was really a goal of hiking the Appalachian Trail, which I had talked about in my 20s, some later 20s, and my 30s, and so I think I had talked about it because it was sort of a dream, but I just didn't really know enough, so it would just seem this scary entity of I'm going to get out there and find that I'm completely unprepared. I'm going to be in just so far away from civilization and so unprepared, that it's going to be into the wild, and I'm just gonna somebody's gonna find my frozen body somewhere, torn apart by wild animals. And yeah, I have a vivid imagination. I get it, right? But I think that fear of the unknown starting out it was intimidating. You've got the wilderness, you've got these wild animals. I keep hearing all this talk about the bears and what you should do. You have to hang your food bag, the PCT style, not tie it off to another tree is what they want. And then you have bear canisters where you have to have a bear canister. And I've been terrified of bears. I've been about 90 miles on trail, 95 miles on trail so far as of the recording of this video. I haven't seen a bear yet. I know other people have said they've been 1,000 miles and hadn't seen a bear. Some people may not have seen a bear the entire time. Other people may walk onto the trail and see a bear within 2 or 3 minutes. Who knows? It's so unknown, and it's actually interesting. My buddy and I were out a few weeks ago, and he was leading. He didn't lead a whole lot of that trip of those 50 plus miles, but we were walking together. He was in front, and he saw a rattlesnake, and it was a big old 3 foot timber rattler. And yeah, so that's the biggest animal that I've seen on trail so far, and deadliest. And luckily, nothing happened. Got a little bit of a video. Maybe I'll try to share it. But but yeah, I mean, I think the fear of the unknown, of not fitting in with the hiking community, of not having the right equipment, so being unprepared, and then once I do have the equipment, do I even know how to use it? I didn't know how to use a camp stove with a fuel canister. I'd never used one before. It's not hard, but when you haven't done something before, it seems mildly, if not majorly, intimidating. I didn't really know how to set up a tent. I mean, they're really easy, and I'll show you how to set up my tent in another video later on. But those are things that I just in 40 years of my life hadn't really done a whole lot of, and maybe I'd camped once or twice. Big Boy Scouts already had pre-set up canvas tents in the 80s. Uh, you know, they were just I just wasn't something that I did with my family, and didn't have a lot of experience. So I think for me, the number one biggest intimidating factor was really just the fear of the unknown. And then to couple with that, kind of the second thing that I'll say intimidated me was do I need to have these survival skills? And one of the major skills is tying knots, and I'm terrible at tying knots. Um, you know, and what I will say is, you don't have to be Bear Grylls. You don't have to be Survivor Man. I think his name's Les Stroud. And you're not going out so far into the wilderness in the Arctic Circle without food, and you don't need to know how to start a fire for, I mean, if you're going out in the winter, if you're going out in storms, yes, like you need to have survival skills if you find yourself in a terrible situation. But most of us, and most of the trail so far isn't too far away from civilization, and so basic first aid, cleaning a wound, and I really haven't even seen any wounds. Nobody that I know is really hurt. I mean, the most maybe somebody will twist an ankle or something, and you get a little scratch, but it really your survival skills. You don't have to be a Navy SEAL, basically. And so what I will say is that most people can't tie knots. Most people don't know how to. You watch these videos, and there are people that know how to tie knots, people that sail, people that have been on ships, people that do this outdoor stuff for a living. And they know how to tie these knots, and they're really good at it. And when they show you how to do it on YouTube, they do this, and then they're like, see, it's not hard, and then they pull it tight, And I've had to watch several YouTube videos because I needed to learn how to PCT hang my food bag, and I'll do a video on that. I'll show you the bloopers in my wife video and me learning how to do it before my last hike, and then I'll share those stories. But I had to watch YouTube videos and then slow it down and try to figure it out, and then go out in my backyard and throw a rope over the branch and try to figure out how to do it. And I did it wrong a bunch of times, and I just had to practice. It's like anything. And then I'll tell you the other thing is I went out, I was on trail, and this guy, I'm not going to say names, but if you're watching this video, hey, I hope you're still hiking, and I hope you're making it up there. But yeah, he was like, hey, you can hang your bag. And I was like, I was thinking about it. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of people around. And come to find out, he didn't have a rope. He didn't have he didn't know how to PCT hang. He hadn't watched any of that stuff. He's 85 miles down trail trying to through hike, and he doesn't even have rope or a carabiner to hang his bear bag or his food bag, and so he didn't really know how to tie any knots or do anything. So I showed him how to do it, and the only way I knew how to do it was just watching YouTube. And so I think that most people don't know how to tie knots. No, most people don't know how to do this stuff. We're all learning from each other, which is why I figured I'd make some YouTube videos, because I don't mind looking like an idiot and posting all of my mistakes out here for everyone else to learn from. I think that's part of what life is, what makes life fun is learning from each other and building community and sharing laughs and good times and bad times. So you don't have to be Bear Grylls. You don't have to know how to tie knots. I'll tell you, one of the other knots that I wasn't sure was how to tie the knot to tie my carabiner to the end of the rope and not have it fall off, and what was a good knot. So I had to figure that out on YouTube, and then I watched the YouTube video several times. So I don't even know that I could retie that knot if I had to. So one of the things that I did was I got this app called Knots 3D. I don't know if you can see that. Knots 3D. That's right. So I downloaded that app just in case I find myself out on trail. I have some rope, I have a knife. If I need to tie something, I'm going to have to figure out how to tie it, something else. I don't even know, a splint or who knows what. I've got an app that I'm going to learn on the fly because I don't know all of those things. All right, so that leads us to number 3, and then we'll call this video good. The third thing that I found intimidating starting out was mileage. So people talk about 50-mile hikes. They talk about 2,000-mile through hikes, and they talk about 20-mile days, 15-mile days. I had no idea what to expect, and I don't think anybody does. What I will say is that my personal experience, I grew up playing sports, and then as I finished high school, competitive basketball, college, competitive intramurals, I moved into running in my later 20s, and I did track in high school too, but like half marathons, 5Ks, marathon, those kinds of things, 10Ks, 15Ks, and and you know a half marathon's 13 miles, 13.1 for those of you who have stickers on your car. We know. Uh, but you're talking 13 miles in under 2 hours, and and that's hard. You have to be in shape. You have to train for that for months. And so I was thinking 10, 12, 15 miles in a day is probably going to kick my butt, especially when you put 35, 40 pounds, 30 pounds, depending on how much you're carrying. I thought that was just kind of crazy. But the nice thing is you have all day, or I mean, unless you're traveling like I am for 5 or 6 hours to get to the trail, then you only have a half a day those days. But really, it's not a race. You're just out there walking at your pace, and if you start early enough in the morning and you end late enough in the afternoon or evening, you can get 10, 12, 15 miles comfortably. Some people can get 20 miles comfortably. The most I've ever done so far is, I think, 16 miles in a day. And my hope is that my next trip I will break the 20-mile barrier. I think I can. I've just been with other people, and they were not interested in trying for 20 miles under any circumstances, and so we never tried it. I wanted to, but it wasn't my issue to push, and I wanted everybody to be healthy and not get hurt. And so I'll let you know if I'll definitely let you know when I hit a 20-mile day. But it's not a race. I think my two buddies that I've been hiking with will probably will disagree, and they'll say that I do feel like it's a race. I'm just really just trying to get miles and complete the goal, and I like to push myself, physically, and I'm not in great shape, so maybe this will be my 2 or 3 or 4 days a month where I push myself like I'm going to get in shape in 3 days a month. But the mileage is really much more doable. The 10 miles a day, if you need a short day, you can do 8 miles, 7 miles, then maybe try to do 12 or 13 or 14 another day. If you've got good weather, doing 10 miles a day just really, if you're in decent shape, isn't that difficult. And it's quite enjoyable. You can even do it pretty fast and still stop and enjoy the overlooks and your lunch, or stop early enough at camp to kind of enjoy the people that are out there hiking as well, that have stopped at shelters or campsites. So, I'll just end it here. I think those are kind of the three biggest things that not knowing starting out in this community really intimidated me. So let me know in your comments below what intimidated you when you were just starting out, or if you're just starting out, what's intimidating to you. And maybe I'll do a video on that, share some of my experiences on other things that I haven't thought about as I was preparing for this email or for this video. So you can also email me. I haven't said that yet, but Carter at HH Diaries if you want to, or hhdiaries.com if you want to send me an email. Hit the subscribe button, do all that stuff if you want to see more content. And thanks so much for watching this episode of the House Husband Diaries. Until next time, have a great day.